The Wild Wild West is here, man, because the transfer portal is open. And I got the 5 reasons why players actually hop in the portal. And 2 of them, you probably didn't even realize were on the top of the list. And I warned everybody that this year would be an insane portal season, as did my guy Josh Pate, but that help was going to be on the way in the near future. And we just got word that the NCAA changed their whole stance on transfers. No one-time transfer, no sit out. If you are academically eligible, you are eligible to transfer and play immediately. Before we get into the 5 reasons, let's just look at the sheer numbers of this whole thing. Because according to Axiom, nearly 8,700 football players entered the portal between August 1st, 2022 and May 1st, 2023. And that's about a 5.5% increase over last year's number of 8,200 players. Now let's just look at the FBS alone, because that 8,700 number included Division 1, 2, 3, and NAIA as well. So in Division 1, last year, during that period, you had 3,284 players enter the portal, and that was 6.5% up from the previous high of 3,083. And that's nearly double the 2018-2019 tally of 1,700 per 24/7 Sports. Now, if you just look at that 3,284 number, that means that almost 20% of all FBS players are looking to transfer this offseason. Let's get into the 5 reasons why players actually hop in the transfer portal. Number 5. It's the one that everybody complains about: not wanting to compete, not wanting to wait, not wanting to grow and develop. It's a real thing. Number 4, players want to level up, whether it's competition, perceived coaching, or opportunities on the football field, maybe to play for a championship. Number 3 is the collectives themselves, because some of these deals are not getting paid where they're supposed to, checks aren't cashing on time, or somebody else is paying way more. Number 2, coaching changes. People will say, don't commit to the coach, commit to the school. It don't work like that, especially when players are trying to go to the league and the new coach might not be filling them. And number 1, and this is by far the biggest bucket of players, it is being pushed out by the coaches, because coaches are trying to level up their roster all the time over developing players. So players really only get 2 years at the most to show that they can cut it and that they will be on the field as contributors. If not, you can hit the bricks, or you can just convert yourself into a regular student. Either way, they don't care. I saw a tweet from Pac-12 network legend Yogi Roth that said, to everybody considering the portal, please pause. Those advising the players, please pause. Every elite athlete must meet adversity and work through it. Ask yourself if you have done that and find clarity around what matters most. Compete to make a mature decision. Best of luck. I completely agree with Yogi Roth here, because athletes need to be able to overcome adversity instead of just jumping out of the frying pan when they might just be jumping into a fire, because the grass looks greener on the other side. Yeah, but people don't know you like that there. And maturity is being able to see more than just a few weeks down the road, because injuries happen, you get better, a whole bunch of things can work in your favor. And your family cannot always see that. And sometimes you have to be the person to be like, nah, mom, dad, handler, we ain't gonna move. But we got to get away from this mentality that the primary driver for athletes transferring has to do with their desire to avoid adversity, because it's not true. Because first, we have to admit that football is going to be hard no matter where a kid goes. They can leave Alabama, go to Western Kentucky. They still got to compete at the new place to get on the field as well. And if you're playing football at the collegiate level, you're doing something more physically and mentally difficult than most Americans who are working in cubicles that they will encounter on any day. And yes, there are some kids that just want a clearer path to playing time, but some kids are still convinced by the high school hype, and that's gassed them up by assistant coaches, program boosters, and anonymous fans on the internet that they're entitled to more than what they're getting. And a lot of kids have dads and moms and uncles and handlers in their ear trying to convince them, listen, you better than them. Man, that guy's getting that. Dude. And they don't know everything that you have and have not been doing at school. But for a lot of those student athletes, those things don't factor in at all. And we need to recognize that everybody's reason for transferring is different. Now, let's break down some of those reasons a little bit further. Let's start with number 5, not wanting to compete. Yes, there are players who do not want to compete on that level. And they're like, let me go somewhere where I can have a clearer path to go playing. They may go down a division, down 2 divisions, whatever it is, because their happiness is attached to playing football and they don't want to wait. They just want to get on the field, which that's understandable. And sometimes players have not maxed out in the weight room like they need to. They haven't studied their playbook like they need to. And they still are like, yo, I should be playing. I'm so talented. Coach said I was this and that. That don't matter, man. Them rankings can't get you on the field. Once you sign that paper, it's over. You got to go compete. Number 4, leveling up competition. Whether it's competition or coaching or just getting yourself ready for the NFL. There are players like Oregon got a tackle from Rhode Island last year. Is he going to be playing against the same amount of NFL competition at Rhode Island that he is at Oregon? No. Maybe he wanted to have that dog fight every single day with players on defense who will be going to the NFL as well to level up his draft stock. And maybe just that competition was going to be able to fuel him to be that much better. But then there's also players who are like, I want to win a championship. I want to compete for a championship. And maybe they don't believe that that's able to be done at maybe a player that was at Pittsburgh, a wide receiver who decides to go to USC and is like, I'll compete for a championship there. Well, they didn't compete for it. Well, I guess they did compete for a Pac-12 championship a couple years ago, but didn't compete for a national championship maybe like they hoped. And that's why sometimes moving is not always the way it seems. Number 3, collectives are not paying the money that they've promised and not on the time level that they've promised. And that's exactly why the schools are trying to take back the power from the collectives. It just makes a whole lot of sense. So what happens if the collective doesn't pay? Who are the players going to go and tell? Nobody, because it was an inducement anyway. So they can't go tell anybody and they're just stuck. Now, what happens to the collective if the player doesn't hold up to his end of the responsibility for money that they paid them? Nothing. There's nothing that they can do. That's why these deals need to be brought out in the light. The athletes and those making the deals can be held accountable. Number 2 is coaching changes. Look at how many coaching changes happened this season and think about how many happened after the transfer portal was closed. You had Alabama get Kalen DeBoer after Nick Saban retired. And then Washington took Arizona's coach. San Jose State got their coach taken by Arizona, and so on and so forth. This happened so many times. And players signed up to play for a coach. Well, George, you're supposed to sign up to play for the university. This is a 40-year decision. But is it really anymore? I do believe that there still is value in having, your name tied to a university, to the boosters, to the community. There is value in that. But if you're a player that has NFL aspirations or even just wants to play, think about it. When the new coach comes in, you may not fit his system. You may not be his type of guy. He may have had the chance to recruit you in high school and he was like, nah, I don't really like him like that. And then your old coach goes to the new school and you get a phone call and they're like, hey, yo, do you want to come over? Because we could use you here and we think that you'll fit here and get a chance to play. So now the player is faced with, do I go with the coach that I know had me on the field already? I like his system. Maybe I'm projected to potentially go to the NFL, or take my chances with the new coach who is going to bring his guys in from wherever he goes. That's the gotcha. And also with the coaching changes, coaches chase money. Some of them do. And with all the money being given out to the coaches, guaranteed contracts and all of that, you don't think the players are looking at that saying, I want a piece of that. I want a piece of that $80 million that you're going to get win, lose, or draw. The way it works. And number one, the quiet part out loud is that more players are pushed out of their schools to be in the portal than anything else. You think players want to jump around? Think about how many players hop in who aren't getting money, who are not getting money from their new school because they've been on the roster 2 years, maybe 3 years, and they haven't really seen the field. And now the new coach is like, or the coach that's there is like, hey, listen, we need you to either medically retire so we can get the scholarship back, or if it's a new coach, we just gonna flat out cut you and you can go, we'll pay for your school to be a student, but you will no longer be on this football team on scholarship. Because the coaches want to get better players. And especially at the bigger schools, when the transfer portal opens, ooh, man, I got this lineman that hasn't played in 3 years. Ooh, I got this portal guy who may come in even just be a depth guy, but either way, he's better than him, I think. So players get pushed out all the time, and it's unfortunate. And those are the 5 reasons why players hop in the transfer portal. You guys can always like, comment, and I want to know what you guys think. Leave it below.